We just have a lot of metrics with which we measure ourselves on a monthly, quarterly, or annual basis that are best established practices within the gym industry, within just regular business industry in general. You need to start measuring yourself against those things, not just like, oh, I like my business because I put a lot of hard work into it. That's just stupid. All right, guys, welcome back to Jerk Block Talk. I'm Jason Fernandez. We're here at CrossFit Rife, and today we're going to talk about something conceptual and something I've had a couple conversations with people about over the last couple months and weeks, and it's just something I figured out to keep myself objective about how I evaluate myself as a gym owner, how we evaluate our business, because there's a lot of people who have a lot of different ways to look at this, and but I think I found something that's pretty unique to CrossFit that I think if you understand CrossFit conceptually, even if you don't understand it that well, it will make sense. And because I just think it's very, very important for us as coaches, as business owners, to have some objective measures with which to measure ourselves so that we're not just lying to ourselves and telling ourselves that we're better than we are. So what I want you to think about is, if your gym was an athlete, how much easier it would be to evaluate them, right? So everybody who does CrossFit knows that there's three modalities. So we have weightlifting, gymnastics, and monostructural. And it's no secret that if you're poor at any one of those singular modalities, you will struggle within the sport of CrossFit or just developing yourself as an athlete as a whole. So what I've done is I've kind of thought about this quite a bit, and I've kind of lined the three pillars, major pillars of your business up with those three modalities within CrossFit. So let's just start with gymnastics, right? So gymnastics I've lined up with marketing, and here's why I've lined it up with marketing. I've lined it up with marketing because when we're talking about gymnastics, everybody knows that arguably gymnastics has the greatest ROI as far as like being a good CrossFitter, meaning like if you can master basic positions, if you can move your body weight really, really well, chances are that you'll be successful in weightlifting. You'll be a better runner. You'll be better at rowing, skier, assault bike, all of that stuff, simply because you have a really, really good kinesthetic awareness about where your body is in space and how to get into good positions. The problem with gymnastics is it's really, really hard to get good in gymnastics. It's mundane. It takes a lot of hours and days and months and years to master very, very simple gymnastics techniques, positions, and skills. And that is very similar to marketing. We know we should do it, but it's really, really boring. But if you get really, really good at it, it pays huge, huge dividends. Now, monostructural is a little bit different. So monostructural I look at as kind of the operations of your business, and then we'll go into the subcategories of all of these. But that's the operations of your business. And the reason I made it operations is because monostructural is basically the thing that fuels the rest of your fitness, right? If you have zero cardiorespiratory endurance and no monostructural metabolic conditioning, it's going to be very, very difficult, even if you're a weightlifter, to get the benefits that you need as you get deeper into sets or train a little bit longer, have longer training sessions, all that stuff, which is the same as the operations within your business. If you don't have SOPs, if you're not running your business with sound financial practices, nothing else really matters. You're going to go out of business. And then weightlifting is over here at coaching, because weightlifting is that thing coaching is that thing that everybody likes to hang their hat on, but realistically, nobody's really as good as they say they are at it, right? So everybody loves to put all their great lifts on Instagram and Facebook, but if you were to have a high-level coach come in and evaluate your full training session, they would basically tear you apart. And coaching is very similar in that respect as well. And the thing about coaching is it's largely subjective. Weightlifting is not. If you can get the weight overhead, you're strong, but it could be cleaned up. But coaching is subjective, and that's based on the false assumption that people that walk in your door know what good coaching is. So I'll go back through these and we'll give some metrics to evaluate yourself with. And when you're going through these metrics, I want you to think about things like, what's your clean and jerk? What's your mile time? What's your Fran time? What's your 30 muscle ups for time? What is your 2K row? What's your 1 rep max deadlift? Again, I know a lot about an athlete if I can just get those metrics. I don't have to know anything else about them. If I can get those metrics, I can tell you whether they're well-rounded or not. And the more metrics I get, the better picture I'm gonna get of that athlete. That's gonna give me a good idea how well-rounded they are. And your business, whether we're talking about coaching, operational procedures, or marketing, is no different. The more metrics you have to evaluate yourself that are objective metrics, that are already established best practices within the business world, the better picture you're going to get of your business. And what you're really gonna find out is like where your really big weaknesses are. So let's start with the gymnastics or the marketing piece. Social media is a big one, right? So if you're not doing things on social media, shame on you. You're probably gonna lose down the road if you're not getting into this. Now, the problem with putting stuff on social media is you can do one of two things. You can document, you can create, or you can curate. If you're pretty new in the game, it's gonna be hard to create because you haven't built a knowledge base with which to create your own content. So you'll probably have to start with curating content that other people put out there. But either way, you're providing value as long as the content is good. So if you don't have a social media schedule, meaning like you're not regularly posting, if you don't have posts every single day on Instagram and Facebook, you need to start doing that. So get a schedule down, figure out what days you want certain things to happen. And if you're not really set on a schedule, then just start putting stuff up every day. If you're pulling stuff off the journal, if you're pulling stuff off of other mediums, just get in the habit of putting something up every day that provides information to the people that are on your social media platforms. You don't know how to run Facebook and Instagram ads, you need to learn. And going back to like gymnastics, you know, if you want really, really good muscle ups, you need to work on L-sits, you need to work on hollow body positions. Facebook ads and Instagram ads is gonna require you to spend 10, 15 hours a month watching stupid YouTube videos on how to do direct targeting or really, really deep targeting, retargeting, how to run video ads. In order to get your content in front of the right people so that you can have a high conversion rate. The back-end marketing is what happens when people come in your funnel all the way from lead generation to, you know, the average length of engagement for your members. That's stuff that needs to be in place too that allows you to maximize retention. And if you don't know what your retention rate is, you don't know what the average lifespan of a client is in your gym or what your conversion rates are, again, not subjective measures, like you can figure those things out, and if you don't know what they are, you need to find out. And then content creation, like if you're not creating content, you need to start creating content. It will probably all be bad at first, like everybody sucks at creating content. Go back and watch the first couple of videos of this show, they were fucking terrible. But just get in the habit. And then a budget, right? If you are not planning to spend the money in these places, you need to, right? So that a little bit leads back into the operations piece here when we start talking about monostructural and how you operate your business from the inside. First thing you need to have is SOPs. Like if somebody can't walk into your business and then you hand them a manual that says, hey, if you can read the English language, you can run this operation. That's the first thing I would start with. I've done more videos on how to start writing that manual. So go back and take a look at that. Financials is a big one. This is the one that everybody doesn't like to talk about because money is just kind of sticky and it's uncomfortable at first, and it's largely because none of us are very good at it because we just haven't learned how to do this correctly. But you should know what your profit margin is. You should know what your operating budget is. You should know like what you've budgeted out for equipment or maintenance or continuing education for your staff. I've done videos on those as well. I highly recommend reading Profit First by Michael Michalowicz. Did a real big turn on our business after I just looked at it a little bit differently from that standpoint. You know, stuff like schedules, what are the jobs and roles for all your staff within your business? Like all of this stuff should be in writing and not just be like, oh, well, we do it this way. Again, all of this stuff should be very, very clearly laid out. And if you had to go on vacation for 2 months, you should be able to hand somebody the keys to this thing and they should be able to, at the bare minimum, check these boxes. Now, there's some other obvious things, intangibles within your business, but those big ticket items should be able to be checked by somebody else if you gave them the keys to the car. And then coaching. Again, this one's super subjective. You know, everybody thinks you have great coaching and great community and all that stuff, but there's a couple things in here that I would recommend you look at. What is your spend annually or monthly on professional development that you're putting into your staff? If it's zero, what I'm gonna tell you is that your coaches are probably not very good. The best coaches that I know spend a lot of time and money in professional development. Probably more so time than money, but at some point you should be spending money on professional development of you or your staff. CEUs, like if you're not getting these continual education credits via CrossFit or whatever practice that you are in, like whether it's OPEX or On It or anything else like that, like you should be getting those things. And really what you're building is a resume, right? So here's the thing for all of you that are new to the game, like a resume in the coaching industry is a real thing, right? So you should be building a staff, or you should be building yourself to where like you have an actual resume to drop to somebody and they would be inclined to hire you. It's not just like, oh, well, I worked at this gym for a long time and I have my level 1 or I have my CSCS. Like, that's not enough. Like, you should have a pretty stout resume or be building a pretty stout resume. And if you're not, like, just write it down. And if your resume is one line, that's problematic from a standpoint of becoming a professional if you want to do this for a living. So start building that resume. And then in line with that, monthly annual goals and planning in order to make sure that these two things happen. These things are not, they're not just gonna put these ideas out there and they'll happen. You need to put together a plan in order to execute these things so that at the end of the year, you have measurable objective metrics to say like, we either got there or we didn't, or we improved or we got worse. So I hope conceptually this makes sense to you guys. Like, I find it to be really, really beneficial. And what it really does for me is allows me not to get really romantic about my business and my coaching staff. We just have a lot of metrics with which we measure ourselves on a monthly, quarterly, or annual basis that are best established practices within the gym industry, within just regular business industry in general. You need to start measuring yourself against those things, not just like, oh, I like my business because I put a lot of hard work into it. That's just stupid. So you should think about it this way. Again, gymnastics, that's your marketing. Again, it's not sexy to learn how to do that stuff, but huge, huge dividends will be reaped there if you spend some time there learning how to do this. The monostructural stuff is, how do you run your business top to bottom, right? Like, what does that look like? Can you hand somebody the keys to the car? What does it look like financially from the inside out? Can somebody come in and can you produce a P&L, a balance sheet, cash flow, and all of that stuff on the spot? Like, if you can't, you're probably in trouble financially. And then weightlifting goes to coaching. Everybody likes to hang their hat on that, and there's a ton of value there, but you need to actually be building a legitimate resume and practicing that stuff as you go through. So if you like this concept, please drop some comments in there. If you have questions about it, other metrics that we'll use to measure our business or measure against, I'd be more than happy to talk to you guys at length about this. But I've just found this to be really, really helpful to kind of pull me out to a 30,000 foot view in order to get a very, very clear picture so that I can't lie to myself about what it is that we're doing and are we moving in the right direction. So it's very much kind of like, increasing the area underneath the curve that we talk about in CrossFit, increase work capacity across broad time and modal domains. Those are based on objective measures. And what you want to be doing is increasing the area underneath the curve that is your business based on objective measures. So I hope you guys like this content. If you do, please subscribe to the YouTube channel and we'll see you next time. Thanks.